What's going on, you guys? My name is Zach Hartley and welcome back to the fourth video in this series where I'm analyzing quantum computer stocks to give you a better idea of which companies I'm going to be investing in, as well as how I analyze a new industry. So if you get any value out of this, remember to click that like and subscribe button, and let's jump right in. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about Rigetti computing, but first I want to start with what is quantum computing. Quantum computing, as described by IBM, harnesses the phenomena of quantum mechanics to deliver a huge leap forward in computation to solve certain problems. It's basically the next generation of computers that can help us solve some of the bigger problems around the world and some new problems that traditional computers could not solve. We're going to talk about some examples of that in just 1 minute, but first let's just talk about what I am doing here. First of all, I plan to make an investment into quantum computing. I'm not sure which company to invest into, so I'm doing analysis on all of the major or pure play quantum computing stocks so that I can show you how I analyze a company, how I look at an industry, and what I am basing my investments on. The companies that I have evaluated so far are these three right here that I am highlighting. These are basically three companies that have all recently or are currently going through a SPAC merger, and they're pretty much pure play quantum computing stocks. And the fourth company that we're going to be talking about today is called Rigetti Computing, ticker symbol SNII. And these are sort of the four companies that I had planned to cover in this series, but I am definitely more interested than ever. So if you have any more companies that you think I should cover or that I'm totally glazing over, then definitely comment down below and I will probably make a full video about them. There are some major players in the industry like Google, IBM, and Honeywell. I currently own a position in Google, and then IBM and Honeywell do a variety of other things. So I'm not going to call them quantum computer companies, but they do have a quantum computing kind of division or business model to them. Now, like I said, the company we're going to talk about today is called Rigetti Computing, but they are currently going through a merger with a SPAC called Supernova Partners Acquisition Corp. 2, ticker symbol SNII. And so when this merger is completed, this stock will change its name to Rigetti and it will change its ticker name. But as of right now, if you want to invest into Rigetti, you actually have to invest into the SPAC, or Special Purpose Acquisition Corporation. We're going to talk about the details of that in just a minute here, but this is basically the Rigetti stock chart. What I see here is that this is a SPAC. That means it should have a valuation right around $10. Since then, it has actually gone up to a high of $12.73, and then it seems to have some major support right here between $10.20 and $10.30. And so I'm watching this level pretty closely here. If this falls down, that would be a bearish sign. If we see a bounce off $10.20, $10.30, that would be a very bullish indication. The industry as of right now is moving in the upwards or bullish direction, but Rigetti hasn't really seen much movement over the last few days, so kind of an interesting stock right now. Now, the business model at Rigetti Computing, and their mission is to build the world's most powerful computers to help solve humanity's most important and pressing problems. And so this is a hardware company that is building these computers. They are trying to manufacture and put together quantum computers for other people to use, other people to run businesses with, other people to invent new ways to use. And so basically this company is trying to develop and build the most powerful computer out there, and so far they've made really good progress. Dating back to 2015, they came out with their first basically quantum computer here, and it was able to process 3 qubits or quantum bits. And then as we moved into 2017 and 2018, they got to a 4 and 8 qubit computer. After that, they got to 16. In 2019 to the present day, they're at around 32 to 40 qubits, and they are currently launching their 80 qubit modular basically quantum computer. And so this is very, very exciting because the amount of qubits that these units can process basically tells you how much computing power they have. And the more and more qubits that we can fit onto a chip and we can put into a quantum computer, the more applications will become available and will become useful with a quantum computer. And so far, just since 2015 to 2021, we've moved from 3 qubits to 80 qubits. Very, very nice success. Now, I did mention we were going to talk about some of the applications. Here are all of the different ways that quantum computers can be used. Now, I don't want to just read these off to you, but the ones that mean the most to me and the ones that I think have the biggest potential: number one, in silico drug discovery, so developing new drugs and new vaccines to cure problems. Number 2 is portfolio optimization. There is a lot of money in this world, and a lot of people would spend a whole lot of money to get a better return. So I think this is a huge opportunity here. The next one here is cybersecurity. We have already looked at a company, Arcit Quantum Computing. They're a cybersecurity company that is using quantum computing to basically make data and make your messages and make encryption more secure. So I think there's a huge opportunity there. And then artificial intelligence and machine learning and simulations. If you can reduce the time it takes to run a simulation on a bridge or a building, or if you can accelerate the speed of artificial intelligence and machine learning, there is massive potential there, and you're just kind of accelerating the curve that's going to go exponential anyways. So I think quantum computing is just kind of the accelerator to improving all of these different applications. Now, this company has some very nice projections and some pretty good traction so far. So in 2021, they're at just under $7 million in revenue in the first 9 months of this year, ending October. And so I do expect them hopefully to get maybe $8, $9, $10 million of revenue in this fiscal year, which would be absolutely phenomenal, and that'd be a great show of traction. And then they actually give us projections going all the way to 2025 and 2026, where they plan to finish with $594 million in revenue and $380 million in EBITDA. Now, realistically, I think the odds of them hitting $380 million in EBITDA is a little unlikely, but without a doubt, this is absolutely amazing margins, absolutely beautiful business. And if they can come anywhere close to 380, that is going to be a absolute cash cow of a business. And I think it represents a great opportunity. It's coming in at 64% EBITDA, which you just do not see very often. So I think that's absolutely amazing. And they're going from 7 million to 594 million by 2026. Now, again, these are just projections. This is what the company is saying they're going to do, but currently they have just under $7 million in the first 9 months of this year. Okay, now like I mentioned earlier, this company is merging with a SPAC company, which stands for Special Purpose Acquisition Corporation, which is basically when a well-seasoned investor goes out to all of his friends, raises a bunch of money, puts it into a company, and then takes that company public without any actual operations. Their only mission is to go and invest into a private company and bring that private company public through a merger. That's what is happening when you see a SPAC deal, and it feels like that is the industry standard in quantum computing, because so far this is the 4th company in a row that has gone through that process. So it seems like it's pretty standard. Now, the company that is doing this kind of merger and acquisition is called Supernova Acquisition Corp 2. The first one went off and it did pretty well. So they have basically come together again and tried to do this in the quantum computing space. They put a value on the company after the money of $1.152 billion valuation at $10 per share, and the shares are currently selling at $10.31 today, a couple of months after this announcement. Now, when it comes to the financials for this company, it's actually really nice, because in this merger and in this SPAC deal, they have raised enough money for what they think should carry them to the point where they are EBITDA positive. And you can see that in this chart here, because their cash balance at 2021 year end is just over $400 million. And then it kind of dwindles down all the way to 2025 when they start making just a little bit of EBITDA. You can see this basically gray blocks right here. And then after that, they make a ton of EBITDA in 2026. That was the number that we saw from the financials earlier in the projections. And by 2026, they plan to be EBITDA positive, cash flow positive, and this should be, in theory, a profitable company based on this forecast and these expectations and the amount of money that they are raising right now. Now, like I mentioned, they do have just under $7 million in revenue in the 9-month period ended October 31st, 2021, which is really nice. They also just got included with Microsoft Azure on the cloud. So any of the Microsoft Azure customers can now use their quantum computer to run different processes and simulations and do whatever they want with it. And just today, like 8 hours before I am making this video, they just announced another $45 million pipe offering that is going to be money going into the SPAC, which is really nice to see. And it basically means that they're going to have even more cash flow, even more runway, and hopefully they can accelerate the sales and the progress and the development of the technology. Now, here is my comparison that I'm just kind of slowly building onto as I add on new companies. And here's Rigetti on the right-hand side. So they have a market cap of roughly $1.2 billion once the two companies merge together. This company is focused on hardware. So the big competitor here is IonQ, which is the company that I just reviewed. So if you want to see that video, you can definitely check it out. But basically, Rigetti is trading at almost 1/3 of the market cap of IonQ, and they're both trying to build very high-powered quantum computers. So it's really, really interesting just to see that they got very vastly different valuations. Now, when you look at the 2024 projected revenue, they're actually very similar. As I showed you before, Rigetti is projecting $73 million in revenue in 2024. You can see that right here, 2024 estimated revenue of $73 million. And when you compare that to IonQ, they're only projecting $60 million, but they have, like I said, basically a 3x multiple on their market cap, or they're valued at 3 times higher than Rigetti, even though their 2024 projected revenue is less than Rigetti. So I found that very, very interesting. The price to sales ratio for 2024 for Rigetti was 16.4, which was higher than the other 2 companies we have looked at, but much, much lower than IonQ, as we should expect. IonQ did not give us 2025 projected revenues, but Rigetti did, and they were $288 million, which actually at that point gave them the best price to sales ratio out of all 4 companies that I have compared so far. And so that is very nice to see, and it's basically caused by this exponential curve in the revenue that they are projecting for Rigetti. Now, whether or not this happens, it's only just a matter of time. That's the only thing that we can do, is wait and see if it actually kind of unfolds like this. But based on their projections, if all these companies just hit their projections, by 2025, Rigetti would be the best valuation right now. Now, the other thing that I like about Rigetti is they do have $7 million worth of revenue in the first 9 months of this year, which is absolutely fantastic, because I believe IonQ has $15 million in contracts over the next few years. And so this is, I know it says current revenue or contracts, this $7 million in revenue is probably better than the $15 million in contracts that IonQ has. And so in my mind, Rigetti kind of beats IonQ in all of these different metrics and all of these different areas. The real advantage here is going to be the technology. Which technology is better? Which one can produce a better computer today and 5 years from now? That's what's going to be really tough to tell. And unfortunately, I just do not have the technical background and enough knowledge in quantum computing to evaluate full in-depth technologies. And so I'm kind of going based off the business metrics that I am used to. However, I will show you one of the slides that I thought was very, very interesting from the Rigetti slide deck. They actually directly addressed IonQ and compared themselves to them. And basically what I am understanding from this chart is that their computer compared to their future computers compared to IonQ, they're saying that they can do a certain workload in a much shorter period of time. And so by this account, it's 64 days compared to 12 hours, and then 25 days compared to 2 minutes. And so that is pretty mind-boggling. That is a big claim here, and Rigetti is throwing around some big numbers saying that their technology and their computers are supposedly going to be much, much better than IonQ. Now again, I just don't have the technical background enough to know whether or not this is true or how to evaluate it or how to measure it, but this is what Rigetti is saying in their investor slide deck, so you know that they must have put some thought into it at least. Now, here are my final thoughts. Number one, if you're looking for a quantum computer hardware company, I personally like Rigetti better than IonQ. You do have a little bit of risk in getting this merger done, but realistically, it should go off without a hitch, so I think Rigetti is probably a better option than IonQ. I think that because it has about 1/3 of the market cap, but they have the exact same level of projections. So we'll have to kind of see which one is doing better over the next 12 months. That might be a better indication of that price to sales ratio, because IonQ has also raised their projections for this year. They've actually multiplied it by 3. So who knows what their 2024 projections will be when they're revised. But based on what they put in the slide decks, that's all I have to evaluate. So based on today's projections, Rigetti is a better valuation than IonQ. I also like that they're vertically integrated. They're literally doing everything, including building the microchips, building the computers. They're doing everything in-house, and they're trying to vertically integrate so they have control over all of their processes. I think the company looks good. They have great experience, good management, and if they can just hit their projections by 2025, 2026, this company is going to do extremely well, because if they generate $380 million in EBITDA, this company is going to be worth around that $3 to $4 billion mark at the very minimum, and that means we're going to go up by 300 to 400% on the stock price from here. And so I do think that there's a great opportunity here. It's going to be really interesting to see how IonQ and Rigetti compare over the next sort of 6 to 12 months, especially with regards to revenue and projections. And then I need to dive in more and become a little bit more technologically aware and be able to judge these technologies a little bit better. I need to do some more research in that part. But if you're interested in doing some more research in how to understand these companies and learn a little bit more, then definitely check out my Stock Market Fundamentals course. It is completely free and it's hosted on Skillshare, and that is where you can sign up for the course, and it's 10 hours long, but you get 2 weeks of free access to the entire platform. So if you can do the course in under 2 weeks, you get the entire thing for free. There's over 10,000 students, over 340 reviews, and there's 1.5 million minutes of watch time that have already gone through the course. So I promise you, it'll be the best free resource that you can find online, and the link is in the description down below to this video. Now, if you get any value out of this video, remember to click that like and subscribe button. I sincerely appreciate it, and we will see you in the next one. Good luck trading, good luck investing, and we'll talk to you soon.